Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of That Tribute Band Show. I am your host, Eddie Payne, and today we have with us the Led Zeppelin tribute, Bustling Hedgerow from New York City. Welcome to the show, guys. And Kitty?
Thank you so much for having us, Eddie. We're really happy to be here.
So let's see, we've got Kevin. What do you play, Kevin?
I play bass and occasional mandola. Myself and Mark, who's positioned above me on the screen here, are to collectively represent John Paul Jones. So
awesome. And JC Doc Rock.
So I play guitar. I've got some of them around me. I feel more comfortable here with my friends.
I think you need maybe a couple more.
You know what? It's like shoes, man. You can always use another guitar. I mean, you know what? Another Gibson Les Paul would be absolutely fine, especially a custom from the 70s. But yes, I play guitar and love playing guitar in this band. Love playing guitar in general, but definitely love playing guitar in this band.
And Heidi, you obviously are the singer.
I am. Yes, that's me. Call me Roberta Plant, I guess, if you will.
So how long have you guys been doing this tribute?
Wow, I think I use my frame of reference is around the age of my child, who's almost 13. So I think we're hitting 13, 14 years together.
Oh, that's
yeah.
awesome.
I think our first show was January 2009, and I think our first rehearsal was September or October of 2008, because that's when my kid was in kindergarten. He's a sophomore in college right now, or just finished her sophomore year of college. So yeah, so it's been a minute.
So do you guys practice often? I know you guys, some of you are in different locations. Obviously, your drummer's not here. What do you guys do as far as like rehearsals and things like that?
So I think in the post-pandemic reality, since our drummer moved to Florida, we'll end up booking shows. When he comes up, we'll do a single rehearsal and then do the show or shows. And as I mentioned a little earlier, we are going to book some shows down there, and we will probably show up a day ahead of time, run a set, and then play a few shows in a row. So not as easy as it once was. Like before we did our first show, we were very directed. We, would come in with the few songs we were going to get down in a given night, have a certain number of rehearsals, go learn the set, then play the set, and then go out and perform it. As we started getting more performances under our belt, we were doing a lot of new songs for a good number of years, and it's a very directed rehearsal environment. Even though it's a lot of fun, I think we're very well organized when we do it. So we're able to get away with it.
And we stay pretty true to the music. We don't embellish too much.
Oh, I lost you, Heidi.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I took myself off of Wi-Fi. We stay pretty true to the music. We don't embellish too much. We make it our own, but at the same time, we stick to what people know. So that allows us to work on our own and learn the music or rehearse the music on our own, and then throw us together as a band, and we just gel.
Yeah. And I'm blessed to be around these guys. The way they play, they're so good at what they do, and they're also so very exacting in the way they learn their parts. Or they come in so well prepared that I always say I'm bringing up the rear. But it's a good. At least it's a good view.
Leave that to me and Tyler. Yeah, well, I think it's also there, Eddie, as we've been together for several years, that we have a bedrock repertoire. We pretty much know. We don't take it for granted ever, because it's not music you can go on autopilot on. But we do have a core set, probably two sets of solid foundation, and we can add and subtract songs. We even have like an acoustic mini set within the set if there's time or space to throw that in. So we have a good amount down already, and then we'll it's like a reheat, a warm up, a rehearsal booked as shows approach. As we ramp up to them, we'll get everything polished and up and running.
And I think it's. Oh, sorry. Please, Mark. Yeah.
Yes. I was just going to say. I mean, So I hadn't been with the band as long. I joined the band. What was it? Probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, so I'm thinking like about 2015, actually.
Yeah, maybe it was a little longer. It's hard to know with the pandemic
Anymore.
distorts time. But when I came in, what I found about these guys is they had everything kind of down perfectly already. They were like a well-oiled machine. So it was very easy for me to come in and just kind of, as Heidi mentioned, learn my parts on my own on the keys and just come in and just kind of slot in very easily with what the rest of the band were already doing. So the level of professionalism that everyone shows in the rehearsals, not just the gigs, for me personally, just made it so easy to just kind of slot in.
And one thing about Mark, I mean, you were targeted. I mean, I joined that other band. I made sure you were in that other band. We were in another band together, and my whole plan along was like, oh yeah, we got to get him into Bustling Hedgerow at some point, right? So,
You're making me
Tyler and I were actually in another band with Mark. With Mark, and we had this. We hashed this idea right off the bat. So it's kind of like, yeah, we have to bring him into the fold. It'll be good for it.
I'm grateful you did.
You guys mentioned you have like a core set of songs that you do. Are there some really, really deep cuts that people request at your gigs? Or do you have like kind of like a handful on standby that you'll just throw in if somebody requests it?
Yes, to answer the question, because LedZeppelin has a lot of depth in their catalog. People don't realize they pretty much hit on all levels when they did. They had the album-oriented radio top tracks, and then there are those among us whose favorite album is Presence, and they're going to want to hear cuts from that. And we do come with those. And once in a while, we'll throw ourselves a challenge like Achilles' Last Stand, something epic.
Just thinking about that one.
My shoulder starts aching sympathetically just mentioning it, actually, because it's 10 minutes of the bass going like a galloping horde. So that's when we need a rehearsal or two to warm up. That's not one of the core set, I'll tell you. But we do try to cut a variety across their whole discography from Led Zeppelin 1 to Coda even.
And oddly enough, I remember when we were learning Achilles' Last Stand, because somebody actually did request it at one of the gigs. And was like, yeah, we'll do it. And I remember the emails going back and forth between Kevin and me. And it got to the point where there was one going back and forth like, in measure 128, it sounds like Jones almost you remember that one too, right? I mean, it sounds like Jones wants to switch over, but he doesn't. I think I'm just going to play what he played. I'm like, yeah, it's probably a good idea.
When in doubt, stick to the script there. And there actually some deep trivia. And then there is a little glitch in that song, but they left it in. I'm not presuming too much, but it's like I'm going to start the climbing riff. Oops, no, we're not doing that.
Nope, yet. Right.
It's right down to E. But sometimes I'll keep that in just for a humorous reference. But to that extent, we don't literally play every single note exactly as the record. We stick to the original arrangements, but the point is to bring it to life. If you want to hear the exact recording, put on the recording. But we're there to bring it, live.
Right. Now, I know your drummer's not here, and I can't talk to him about Bonham stuff, but so do you guys do like the extended Moby Dick version?
So this is something we've been talking about for a long time, but believe it or not, we haven't done. And we probably should, because he does such a terrific Bonham. His name is Tyler Land, and he is wonderful to have in a Zeppelin band. And he's, I was trying to count. I think I have been in probably 9 different bands with him over the years. And yeah, he's a good guy to have around.
Wow.
And yeah, I think it would be great to do that at some point.
That's one we haven't gone to too often.
Right.
Not since I started a bit later than the inception of the band myself. But in fact, I started on Leap Day 2012.
Yes,
so
you did.
Depending on how you want to count it, I've been in the band either like 2.5 years or 12 years. So
well, it's even less with the pandemic.
yeah, that took time away.
It's right because that was 3 years. So you're like kind of T-minus 6 months at this point. If we go with Leap Day,
I'm still learning it after all.
Yeah, you haven't even been with us yet. So
yeah, but what makes it easier back to Tyler, I can assure you that. Do you play drums, Eddie?
I do. I am a drummer, and that's the only instrument I play. I know a little bit of guitar,
cool.
but outside of about 3 or 4 chords, I'm just a drummer.
Where do you live, Eddie?
The thing is just a drummer. No, Tyler has got the feel. He's got the Bonham feel. As the bass player, I can attest to this, and it's great when, as a bass player, I don't have to worry. I can just settle in for the ride, and I know he's there. But he's made a science and a study of that feel, and you know what I mean.
Yep.
Got it. So let's surprise, since he's not here. Let's surprise that on him. Let's put
that in the set. Yeah, we put that in the set because he's coming.
Version.
Yes, I mean that's good. That could take up an entire set actually, which would be handy for that thing
coming
up
in
rock.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Give
perfect.
vocalist a rest.
Exactly. It's funny when you said I don't have to worry, right? It's interesting. You talk about playing in a group and playing with people, and you talk about trust. When can you really play? I mean, there's gigs that we do a lot. We all play in different bands. We all play in lots of different bands, and there's lots of different kinds of gigs, lots of different styles. Anytime you go out to play, I always say it's a blessing, no matter what the context is. But the trust level over here is immense in this group. I never feel anything other than that. So I'm always able to really play music as opposed to worrying about parts. I'm not concerned about anything other than getting out to play. It's always kind of a fun experience just to go play music. I'm not sometimes you're on a gig and you're like, well, let's see if so-and-so knows this or knows that, or I'm going to have to cover this part or that part. At least from my perspective, there's none of that. I just kind of sometimes feel myself drifting, and I like to listen to Heidi sing. I like to listen to Mark play. I mean, I listen to Kevin pounding it out and Tyler, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. I could almost forget myself. Almost forget myself at times. Oh shoot, I got to do something here.
Yeah, you need to start paying attention at some point. I get like that sometimes too. You get in the groove and you got to start paying attention at some point because you'll mess your part up.
Oh, hey, these guys are good. Like, oh shoot.
Led Zeppelin's music does that. You like I said, you can't take anything for granted because they'll throw 3 extra 16th notes in there just because. That was Jones's thing, and that explains the crunch. But that's a topic for another show. But yeah. So that's any worrying done. It's about my own playing and whether my left hand will behave itself and do the right thing at the right time. But it's right. There's no worrying laterally off to my sides or in front of me with these others. It's a good gig. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun, man.
So what are some of your influences? Obviously, Zeppelin. Is there any other influences, maybe not necessarily from that time period, but maybe anything current or in between then and now?
Well, you get, of course, we're a Led Zeppelin band, and they're, as far as rock goes, and since the latter half of the 20th century, they're a major towering influence in rock in general for us. But we've had both book learning and street learning plenty, and studied plenty, and it all feeds in towards the same end, which is to play the right note at the right time. Parallel to Zeppelin, I've been a fan of classic British rock, classic British prog rock, and like I said, just about anything in between. A funny thing I learned, I actually started up bass lessons again after joining slightly because I realized there was a lot more depth. I thought I learned all these riffs when I was 16. I was wrong, right? I didn't know anything. Because you learn the influences behind the influence. Like Jones was very influenced by Motown. He was a Motown expert. He was London's default Motown expert session bassist. So I had to go back and study a lot of Motown and James Jamerson's grooves, because you hear that like in What Is and What Should Never Be. And especially on the earlier bluesier tracks, you know, it's very much in the pocket Fender precision playing. And I had to make a study of that and go back to what influenced him. But like Led Zeppelin, they give you such a wide variety within their own discography. You know, we're playing metal and immigrant song and English folk and Bronny R. Stomp, and then straight up blues for some tunes. All those influences get pulled in by default.
Yeah. How about you, Heidi? Do you have any big influences vocally?
I think the two female artists that have influenced me the most are Chrissie Hynde from Pretenders, because she's just a badass, and Joan Osborne. I love her tone. I love her catalog, and I think just vocally, those are the two that have really inspired me. And then, you know, of course, Robert Plant. You know, I don't think he could sing what he sang then now. So to be able to achieve what he achieved then is inspiring in and of itself.
Mark, do you have any cool influences?
So I mean, like Kevin, you know, probably being a Brit, I'm a fan of the classic British rock bands, but I also, you know, I try and kind of keep up with more current stuff as well. So I mean, I say more current, probably showing my age a little bit here, but bands like from the you know early 2000s, like Doves and Elbow and those kind of guys, who were probably bigger in the UK than they've ever been in the US. So some people may not have heard of them, but they're really almost like a mellow kind of British rock feel,
right?
That I think is really cool. But you know, more modern day, you know, bands like Arctic Monkeys, which again probably have a smaller following in the US than in the UK, but I try and keep up with my British rock influences as much as possible.
So where all do you guys travel to as far as like tour dates? Do you stay on the coast? Do you go west? Do you go all over?
We'll go anywhere that books us, man. Primarily New York area, but we'll be heading down south at some point soon. And I think for something like that, it will probably be 2 or 3. It'll be like a triple shot in a row, and then back, you know, and then back over here. And then, as I say, primarily up and down here. But, you know, we're open to anything. Anybody who's watching that wants to book a great Zeppelin show, just get me through Eddie, man. We'll go out.
Yeah, look us up, Bustling Hedgerow. We do has an Instagrams, I think, as the kids call it. We got Facebook. I think we still have a website. But yeah, man, we're based in the city. There's plenty to do still in the city, especially post-COVID. Now everyone's bouncing back. And the whole area here extends, you know, to Long Island and north of the city also. There are venues to stretch out there. Having no car, I prefer ones that are accessible by public transit. And that they have a back line, that makes things helpful usually.
Definitely.
People adapt and travel as necessary.
I was just going to ask if you guys travel outside of the city. Do you, like, if you're coming down, say, for like Florida gigs, would you have a back line, or would you just pack everything in the van and just go down?
Backline, all backline, take a guitar. I actually did a kind of a cool flyaway gig in Florida about a year ago. And I just travel with one guitar and a mini board. And
I would
that
hope
was
these
it.
venues have a back line. If not, we need the number of the local music store.
Absolutely.
You think they'll lend stuff out?
Well, you
Rental.
distract them, get them to look the other way.
Oh, that's it.
I'm sure you can find Marshalls anywhere in any music store if you needed one.
Why need the amp? Yeah, well, it's one little blessing I found. I'm originally from the Baltimore, D.C. area, which is still very car and schlep your gear around based. It stopped short of saying spoiled because it's not always a spoiling, but I'm glad the venues have backlines, and I'm glad the technology has improved over the ages. Most of these venues do. It's pretty good gear for me. Now, guitarists always like to bring their own amps. They're very particular about their tone. They're bass players. We can make do with what we find there.
You guys are adaptable.
We are highly adaptable, but bass amp quality has improved over the years. The towering Ampeg 8x10 that smells like a variety of beers and things. Pretty much gone, retired now, replaced by nice little combos. But
Yeah.
I do have an amp which will travel when necessary. Though, gosh, it's such an inconvenience and such a bother. But still.
Have you ever met anyone from the band or had any feedback, good or bad, on the tribute band from the band, or have you ever gotten a cease and desist letter on anything?
No, actually, no. I wanted to come up with something really funny, but I couldn't. I couldn't come up with a good enough comment. So no, we haven't received a cease and desist letter. I think it'd be really bad if they tell you to cease and desist playing. They did take it. Didn't YouTube take a video of ours down?
Well, no, they it was really kind of nasty. They just took the audio down of a live performance of one of the acoustic tunes, and they left the video up. And I'm like, well, where's the fun in this? They just took the audio out. I mean, at least take the video out and leave the audio so I have something to listen to. But no, they did the opposite.
Well, I reposted it, and instead of using the name, I only used the state, the West Coast state that's in the name of the song. So it's just posted as Bustling Hedgerow, California right now. So it's up there and it hasn't been taken down yet.
I don't know what song that is, you see.
Well, if you were going to, for example.
I've noticed that a lot of things on YouTube will get, obviously you'll get a copyright, not necessarily a strike, but a copyright notice. And it just means you can't monetize the song or part of your channel or whatever. And there's been a couple times where I've actually uploaded some stuff from one or two of my tribute bands, and it like completely got blocked, like worldwide. It would not even let it go
Just
through.
wouldn't go up.
Yeah. And
so Eddie, let's turn the tables. Who do you pay tribute to in your band?
Which one?
Oh, which are you in? Give us.
Well, the one that I probably am the most busy with is Totally Random, and we are an 80s tribute band.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
We pretty much do new wave pop alternative stuff. I think we have some of the more popular. This song isn't really 80s, but it was actually 70s. We do a Kiss song, and we do a Bon Jovi song, but we're trying to stay more towards the pop, new wave alternative stuff. Not so much everything that was, blown out of the water on the radio. It gets played to death. We try to come up with songs that we can all do to our capabilities, as well as songs that aren't played to death.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of bands, especially around here, they'll pick the same 10, 15 songs, and that's what they stick to. I mean, is their
where are you located?
I'm actually in Virginia.
Oh, cool.
Right outside of Richmond, Virginia.
Very cool.
Very humid here.
Oh, I know part of the extension of the Baltimore, D.C. corridor was Virginia Beach. So we slept through that area often.
And the other band that I'm in is actually my second best band is the AC/DC tribute for those about to rock. And we are pretty much covering all of the state of Virginia right now. We do have some other bands coming through. don't know if it's competition because they've been doing it for 20 plus years, but we have another AC/DC tribute that comes through here. They play at several venues that we can't get into because they play there. It's frustrating, but there are other places that we can hit that they don't hit, so we can kind of cover the other parts of the state. And we're trying to branch off into some regional, like bordering states right now. Trying to get some stuff in North Carolina, maybe some Baltimore, Maryland area, DC stuff. We've got some bands that we've networked with along that area that we're working with to try to get some gigs.
Do you guys book yourselves?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a good segue to my next question. Have you guys ever had any issues with venues not allowing you guys to play because of other tributes that they're exclusive to?
So, yeah, further out east, because I do a lot of the reaching out for booking, and if you're talking like further out east, like in Montauk or out on the island, if they have a Zeppelin tribute, if they see we're a Zeppelin tribute, then no, they won't. They'll just say no off the bat without listening or looking at anything.
We do have. I think. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that's like just part of the. I think that's just part of the. That's just part of the game at this point.
We are lucky enough to have what we call our home away from home. There's a venue here in town, and I'll hook you guys up with this venue off the air here.
Cool.
That we do play at, and they also have another tribute band of the same band come into town, but they also work with another venue down at Virginia Beach. They will play down there, but they won't let us play down there. But the local venue will let us play. So we're grateful that they're allowing us to play. And it's like, it's another band, we play the same exact music, but I mean, it's what we do. We have fun doing it. People enjoy it. And that's what we're trying to, spread the word across that, this is what we do. Another tribute band's going to do it different than we do it.
Oh, sure. Well, that's part of the fun of it, though. It's like it's interesting. I mean, you guess you two ways you can do it. You can do it that way. You can do what we tend to do, where we've made friends with a lot of these different bands. Become very friendly with them. You're going to play with them. You're going to see them, and there's another nice bunch that mostly come from a Zeppelin tribute band and end up coming to see us. I'm talking about Thorn and Company, and I think you played with them one night too, right, Kevin? Didn't you So, yeah, I mean, you could have a good relationship and have a good rapport or not. I mean, I think, it's just because that the good is good.
Yeah, well, Led Zeppelin especially, I mean, there are national and touring acts making, being a Led Zeppelin tribute. There are several, you probably know already, like, you can mention names here. Led Zeppelin, Get the Lead Out, every pun you can think of.
Right.
And so they each take a slightly different approach. A lot of them want to replicate what the live band was like as a live quartet, which, is great. And there are those that also take, we want to replicate the studio sound. We're more hewing to the sound of the studio recordings. And so there's no need. I think it would look cool, John, for velvet black bottoms with dragons on them. And I just don't look good in a 70s leisure suit. So we're not looking to completely reproduce the Led Zeppelin experience like you missed them the first time around, which is good because I was only a single digit age when they were touring, and it would have terrified me. It still does terrify me, actually. But you could almost say they could complement each other. But I wasn't aware of any, being verboten to play. It's a matter of booking too. Like if last week they had a Led Zeppelin band, they don't want us there the next week. A lot of it is timing too.
Have you guys ever sold out a venue?
Yes, we actually have. We sold out a rather large venue that was a theater in Long Island a ways back. It's actually kind of cool. We actually drew a lot of people to that show on a holiday weekend. It was supposed to snow, And I was personally surprised. I was personally shocked, but it was kind of cool. It was cool playing. It was cool playing a large theater with a light show, etc. And a really good sound system. I mean, everybody in here has played the whole gamut of venues. I mean, you know, largest for me was Convention Hall, and it's like a 4,500 seater, and the smallest for me was a pizza place.
Yeah.
I like telling that story. So it's, you know, I probably got paid more at the pizza place. And I ate too.
So you think the 4,500 is about the biggest crowd you've played to?
That was a long time ago with an original act that was back in Jersey. Absolutely, by far the largest I've ever, you know, that was the largest venue I ever played, personally.
What is your favorite Zeppelin song to play, do you think? Most fun to play?
Well, I have two favorites. One is Ramble On, only because I love the bass line and I just enjoy singing it. And then going to the blues side, I love Since I've Been Loving You. It's just powerful and it's just all about the vocals. So those are my two faves.
How about you, Mark? Did you have favorites?
I'm trying to think. I mean, a few. I mean, I like playing Trampled Underfoot just because it's cool keys. Stairway to Heaven is fun for me as well. I think we play it well. I also really like playing. I like playing 10 Years Gone. I put some piano in there, just straight piano. It's one of the very few songs that I'm just playing straight piano on. So it's obviously a little different from the studio recording, but I actually think it adds to the overall sound, and John and I play well off each other in that song, and I think it really kind of fills out the sound, and I think we make it sound really great. So that's fun as well to play. What else? I'm sure there's something I'm forgetting. No Quarter is another great one to play. We haven't done that for a while, but
yeah,
that's an intense one. You never think a C-sharp minor dirge would go over so well, but people really dig it when they hear these deep cuts. And I think about, that's a hard question to answer as we're running through the whole set list in my head, but especially songs like when we do That's the Way, when we pull an acoustic set, I get to play both mandola and switch over to bass for the end. So I get a fun little best of both worlds. And I always like playing Nobody's Fault But Mine from Presence, because then I get to work out on my 8-string. John Paul Jones got an 8-string some time for Presence, so it's all over that album. And a lot of those riffs are him chunking along on that, plus I really get the wail on it.
So it's funny. I was prepared to answer this question because I figured you might ask it, right? And I was like, what do I really love? What is it that, you know, one of those times when you're just kind of like sitting back and listening to the band? Ramble On comes to mind. I think there's just something about that. It's always at a point in the set, like, you know, we open up kind of hard and heavy, and then we might take it down a notch, and we go into Ramble On, and it's just really interesting. By that point, you know, you have an audience. They're kind of like glued when you're playing that song, and they're down and they're listening, and I'm listening to all the parts. I hear that great bass line. I hear, you know, Mark when he's playing with me on the choruses, and Heidi's vocal is really beautiful. And like Tyler starts it out playing some, you know, he starts playing with his, you know, he starts hand drumming first to start it out, and it's a really cool vibe, and not what I would have thought the vibe would be for a Led Zeppelin show when I first got involved in a Led Zeppelin show. Other things I love to play, Over the Hills and Far Away. That's always a jam. That's always a cool tune. I love playing No Quarter. Since I've Been Loving You also. You know, another great tune. I actually get a kick out of Nobody's Fault and also Trampled, because even as a guitar player, I kind of like the keyboard feature songs. I like that. I can rest a little bit.
Yeah, there's great opportunities to just lay into the groove. Like Trampled is, and I believe the studio does have a bass track. Live, he would play the bass on bass pedals under the clavichord or whatever he was playing. But it's a simple groove. You got to be consistent, and it's just a chance for me to go thumb style and just lay back and lay down on it. And again, you can't go on autopilot because you got to know when the changes happen. So it's a very energetic tune. People get up and dance to that.
Yeah.
So all of us
we tend to do a lot. Sorry. I was going to say we tend to do a lot of counting in this band.
Right.
We're all counting.
Yeah. Being a drummer, I have to do that too sometimes. Even on, I use backing tracks on the 80s tribute, and I mean, even with the backing track, I've found myself counting things here and there, just because it kind of helps me get into the groove of the song.
Oh, yeah.
Since we're all in this like big network of tribute bands, are there any other tribute bands besides yourselves that you're fans of?
I'm a fan of Dream of the Archer.
Who are they?
They are a Heart tribute band, and both Kevin and Mark play in that band.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
They pair very nicely, like a fine wine, along with Bustling Hedgerow, actually. Because generally the audience of one will like the other because they're very kinship band. And then Heart covers rock and roll, which blurs the line. So I'm not sure which tribute band I'm in.
Don't they also do Black Dog as well?
I think they have. Yeah,
I think they have.
And one night I saw Heart at the Manhattan Center, and they did What Is and What Should Never Be.
Oh, this is getting out of hand.
It really is.
Y'all got to make something happen now.
Bustling Heart Row, I guess.
Something like that. Bustling, dream of the bustle.
It depends on which level you mean also, because there's international and professional tribute bands. There's a terrific band out of Montreal called the Musical Box, who reproduce early 70s Genesis. And they're the ones, they do wear the bell bottoms. They got every bolt and hair strand and old t-shirt accounted for, and they are officially licensed. There's a level at which you get official clearances and licenses from the originals to do their thing. And they're the only one to get the official licenses and props even from Genesis themselves.
Wow.
That's
so that
cool.
level. That's but locally, there's tribute bands are coming. It's an interesting day and age we're in where tribute bands can really be well established because this era of music has passed. And, people want kind of the experience of the original again. And a lot of the original bands are still out there in some form or another, or not, maybe with one original member, but if they're only going to tour once a decade and it's hard to catch them, people really like the tribute band experience.
There's one Zepp tribute band that plays nationally that I actually caught in New York City. I like them a lot, Zepparella.
I've never heard of them.
They are a 4-piece, all-female band, and they were really badass. Did a really nice show at the Cutting Room over the summer. I just thought they really did a nice, really great live show. And they've got a YouTube video of when the levee breaks. I think it's got over 1 million views, which is formidable.
Heidi, do you have any favorite tributes?
No, I'm a mother of a young child, so I really don't get out much.
I understand that.
So I have to take a hard pass on that. Most of my tribute experience is just maybe local bands that I've seen. I do enjoy a good 80s tribute. I'm a big fan of 80s new wave, so I'd probably really dig your band, Eddie.
Yeah.
So if there's ever opportunities to see something like that, I try to get out to see that, but it doesn't happen too often these days.
Mark, do you have any favorite tribute bands?
I mean, I wouldn't say any in particular. You know, if I see a good tribute band, I'll probably enjoy the gig.
Yeah.
But not necessarily, kind of remember who they are, or
Gotcha.
We see plenty of other tribute acts if we're doing gigs,
right?
And there might be 3 or 4 bands on that night, and there's usually one or other of those acts is another tribute band. So good to enjoy it, but it's not like I'm actively kind of following them, to be honest.
I mean, when I started playing Bustling Hedgerow, I started looking at Get the Let Outs videos. Actually, they do a great job.
Yeah, they're one of the bands. They aim to reproduce the studio.
Yes, they do. That's why I kind of glommed onto them early and looked at how they were playing their parts, and I thought they were really good.
Yeah, they make a joke, and I've seen them too. They have multiple players and who come and go as needed for the parts.
Right.
Like, and they would joke like, "Why does it look like Jimmy Page is singing?" Because the singer had black hair. Well, they're saying they're not out to be the quartet that you missed in the 1970s. They're out to just do the music, and it really comes off well. That's their approach.
No, it's nicely done. It's really nicely done.
We have one Zepp tribute that comes through here quite often. I think they play 2 or 3 times a year within a 50-mile radius of the city. They're called Zoso.
Oh, I know who they are.
Yeah, they're pretty popular, and I'm pretty sure that everywhere they play, they sell out because, I mean, they're really good. I haven't seen them live. I've seen videos of them online, but they're really, really good. Yeah,
they do a good job too.
Yeah, well, an evening worth of tribute bands makes for a good package entertainment if venues are smart enough. I also play with an 80s new wave type multi-band tribute band, cover band, and this venue in Jersey booked us with a Smiths tribute band and a Cure tribute band. So that way, if the evening the audience is going to stay for one, they're going to stay for the other. Yeah. And we ourselves have shared the bills with a Blondie tribute band, a Doors tribute band, even a Jam tribute band. And it's become kind of a niche industry, even if it's a one-off or only not taken to any great professional extent. People enjoy like getting together and attributing their favorite band.
Right.
And almost booking like you'd see a poster from 1980 with this band's on it, but they're kind of recreating that experience of everyone of a certain feather together, and it makes for a whole good evening.
Is there something that you guys do to prepare yourselves for a gig? Like, is there any kind of like pre-show ritual that you do? You take shots, or you give each other high fives, or get in a huddle and amp each other up, or what do you guys do?
I was going to say that if you see us sitting, I'll be running warm-ups with a little headphone thing in my guitar. Tyler's got a little drum pad out where he's playing, he's doing warm-ups. Kevin, what do you do?
I kind of physically do stuff by elbowing people out of the way on the subway.
That's right. That's a good warm-up. That's
good for the shoulders, which is essential for standing there playing a Fender type bass for hours on end.
And I mean, poor Mark, like he's coming, he's hauling his keyboard in, and he can't set it up somewhere in the back and warm up either. So I think he's perpetually warmed up, right? Like he just comes in ready to go.
The only thing I have to do is just make my little notes on my set list.
That's true. That's true.
Depending on the order of the songs, okay, it's this sound, or it's a clav, or it's a Hammond, or it's flutes, whatever it is. So I have to switch the sound. So I'm making sure I've got my notes prepared.
I do just my usual vocal warm-ups. A lot of it is movement. To belt out those high notes, I really have to kind of get deep down and bounce off of those notes. So I actually physically move to warm up, not just vocally. And I do a lot of moving my mouth, just really loosening up my jaw and just to allow myself to do what I do.
Try to keep everything relaxed.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. One night somebody suggested I stretch when we were backstage before I go out. So I did it and I pulled an oblique and I practically cried. So I don't do that anymore.
Bad advice.
That's just bad advice, man. No strength or flexibility anymore for me. That's how it's over.
Well, it's hard to do some rituals. We did try one time reading the Zeppelin themselves, though. We did try to burn a goat out the back of a venue once, but unfortunately, a local food cart vendor took an interest because apparently that's a delicacy. What do they call it? Chèvre? That's French, at least. Chavo, I think. And we sold it to them, and we had a little stew afterwards. It was quite good, actually, but it was a lot of work.
That was pretty cool. That was like better than a pizza place because that paid better than a gig, and we ate.
Yeah,
and we ate. Right, so that was actually pretty good.
Well, it was offset by the cost of the goat to begin with.
Well, that's another thing, though. That's just it's all the price of doing business, right?
Goat in New York City sometimes.
Well,
And
I'm sorry.
love to do it because we make each other laugh, right? We just when we get together in practice, however infrequently we do it, we laugh and we're like family. So
yes, that is absolutely true.
Really quick, before we go, is there anything that you want to say to all the Zeppelin fans out there, or perhaps your own fans that are watching right now?
Thank you so much for coming out to see us, supporting us. It's such a great ride. We have such a great time. We can't wait to play for you again.
And if you've never seen us and you're in the New York area, check us out. We know you won't be disappointed. Again, we may not look the part, but we are true to the music, and we play with passion and heart and soul. And it would be a fun ride for you.
And all of those. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
I was going to say, look up Bustling Hedgerow. We do have internet's presence, so it's anywhere you just drop a term, you'll find all the info you need to know. And have faith. The spirit of Zeppelin does live on, and we will ramble on and bring it to you. So please check us out in the New York area.
We're pretty damn good.
And I'll add to that, and I'll say that for all the viewers out there watching, I will make sure to leave all their links down in the description of the video so you can find them easily. So you don't have to figure out, well, what were they called again? Where are they located? Because I get that a lot too. So we'll hook you guys up.
Thank you so much, Eddie.
All right.
Thank you so much for having us.
Bustling Hedgerow,
Thank
you very much for coming on the show. It's good to talk to you guys finally. Thank you for joining me for another episode of That Tribute Band Show.